The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders corporate office. We're thrilled to be here with you this morning. We've got a big show, and you know that I love Wednesdays. I particularly love this Wednesday. You guys have sent in some amazing questions for a segment that we're going to be starting in just a second, Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampichet is here with us, and she's going to answer some of your questions that you've sent in through the night and some of the ones that you'll send in to us live. And I do want to remind you that we are going to be live for the next 2 hours. So Samantha's going to show you really quickly some of the different ways that you can connect with us, that you can have your voice heard, have your questions, your comments answered. By the way, there's lots of different ways that we're live right now, including the two newest ways that we've added, which are Periscope and Twitter. So you can check us out there, as well as all the other places that she's showing us. But don't forget that our homepage is autism-live.com. And when you go there, you can start the show playing by clicking on the triangle that's on the computer screen. That will play either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. If you want to talk to us, if you put your cursor in the box that says your question, all you have to do is type and hit enter. There is no username, no password, none of those crazy mixed up things that you have to prove that you're a human being and not a bot. None of that. There's no credit card involved. It's completely free. It's completely anonymous, which leads me to my next thing. Please give as much information as you would like. I have the ability to edit it and not show it to the public. So if you want to give us an email or a phone number to get back to you, you can, but you certainly don't have to. I will say, though, that giving us an idea of what the closest major city is often really helpful, since autism services aren't the same all over the place. Before we get started, one quick programming note. I don't want to forget, in case you have to go away, don't miss tomorrow's show, whatever you do. We have Rabia Rashid, who is the writer, creator, producer of Atypical on Netflix, is with us for a full hour tomorrow to talk about Atypical. They've been renewed for a second season. We're really thrilled about that. She's going to give us some information about how they got started with Atypical, where the idea came from, and where it might go in season 2. So that's a really fun hour. You won't want to miss that tomorrow. And by the way, don't forget that first we have Ask Dr. Doreen. Then in the second hour today, we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspot Jackson will be joining me. And today we have a fabulous woman that Nancy and I have been friends with forever and been begging her to come on the show. Debbie Tippett-Clark is going to be with us from Pawtism. She is a fabulous dog lover and is a supporter of all things autism and animal, and pairing up individuals with animals that are trained specifically to be with them. We're going to have a dog in the house today because recently Act Today was part of a grant to give a local family a wonderful service dog. And so that doggy is going to be here with the family, and we're going to hear from them and Debbie how this all unfolds. We just can't, we love it. I said to my dog this morning, I got a dog on the show this morning, and she was jealous. In any case, big hour, but starting with Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. We're here with Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, and thank you so much for being here.
Always
Thrilled
nice
to have
be
you here.
Thank you very much.
For those of you who don't know Dr. Graham-Pichet, she is a true expert in the field of autism. I believe the preeminent expert in the field of autism in our time, and there is no other time for autism, really. And she's been working in this field for an incredibly long period of time. We're almost about to say 40.
Almost 40.
That's just nuts. Almost 40 years.
One more
in
year
this field.
and we will be at 40.
Isn't that amazing? Don't you want to know what she uses on her skin? I do. But in any case, and over that almost 40 years, you've worked with everything from very small infants up through senior citizens, helping these individuals to be able to find ways that substantively help them,
Right.
And to help the families as well. I always say that Dr. Graham-Pichet is truly a visionary in this field.
Thank you very much.
She is the living example of good perspective taking, where she looks at an issue from everybody's side and tries to see how can
Thank
we
you.
uplift everybody, and it's a fabulous thing to be around, let me just say. And we don't say this enough, but you're the founder and CEO of CARD, but you're also the founder of Autism Care and Treatment Today, ACT Today, a wonderful charity that's part of what we're talking about later on, giving the dog to this family. And you have made it possible for, it's got to be close to being, it's certainly in the hundreds of thousands of families to get help and support one way or the other.
Yeah, that's sort of my big reward as ACT Today, really, because honestly, it's just being able to have a venue where we can give out help is really meaningful.
And almost $2 million at this point
Almost $2 million
that they've given away,
fantastic. And
which is direct, support for families for the things that they ask for, which you've
Right.
got to be proud of.
yes, that's my best days when we give out grants. I love that.
Wow.
I feel like it's such a reward. So I wish other people could be involved with that, because it's such an amazing thing to be able to read out someone's story and then say, this is what we're doing, this is the money we're giving. And we can talk about this later, but I think we should take it back to our board. We used to do that as a
Yes.
board,
Yes.
and it was a really enjoyable activity.
Well, I certainly have seen what happens when you
It's
are
incredible.
able to give something to a family. It's a privilege to be
To
able
be in
to
that position.
Yes, to be in that
Absolutely.
position and to be able to view it is
Absolutely.
absolutely a privilege. It comes with the other side, though.
Yes.
Which is
Not being able to help all the families.
and to see the families that don't get the grant, and to feel your
We
heart
just-
want
yeah,
to burst,
absolutely.
because it just makes you want to work that much harder to
Right.
get donations. We should say to folks that there are lots of different ways that you can make a donation to ACT Today of any size. They love it when families decide to do an event for
Anything.
themselves,
I mean,
like
you
a
know,
lemonade stand.
Anything. So today I have something like 100 dresses in my car, which I'm bringing up, and I'm going to actually set up in the office next week and tell everyone here at CARD, we have about 200 people at the headquarters, and just say, take whatever you want and just make a donation to ACT Today for each dress. And any way that we can make, even if I raise $1,000 for ACT Today, it's going to help one child get an iPad.
Absolutely.
So-
Every little bit makes a difference. There is no amount that's too small. If you want to teach your children how to be advocates and how to be people who are
Right.
helpful, you set up the lemonade stand, and you can ACT Today will send you pamphlets, and you can have them hand out the pamphlets at the lemonade stand. We've had kids send in $20, but the truth is, you get 5 kids who do that for $20, and now maybe it's the difference of putting safety locks on a house so that a child doesn't elope. That's saving a life.
Absolutely.
So just know that you can do that. You can also sign up if you're on Amazon. You can sign up for Smile and choose ACT Today as the beneficiary of that. There's lots of different ways to be involved and to do something.
That's right.
And it all makes a difference. It's amazing how it seems like a small thing to us, but it makes a difference. In any case, we're here today to answer people's questions, and we got I just love these questions.
Oh,
today.
great.
I
Exciting.
always love them, but these, for some reason, I just was like, oh, and then I would read the next one and go, oh. So I want to get to as many of them as we possibly can. Plus, I know you guys are writing in even as we speak. So I want to start, because we love people who are studying in this field. I'm a bit confused with a 3-term consistency,
Oh,
she said.
Contingency is what
Yes.
she means.
Can you help by answering this question, please? Using the 3-term contingency, illustrate the contingency involved in opening a can of soda and also starting a car. And this is from Alice in the UK, who is studying for her master's in behavior analysis and therapy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So instead of just telling you the answer to that, Allison, I want to help you so that you can understand it going forward. So the 3-term contingency is just the 3 parts of that are the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. That's the easiest way to think about it, and it just so happens that that forms ABC. The antecedent, behavior, and the consequence. And in discrete trial terminology, we refer to those as the SD, the R, or response. SD is discriminative stimulus, which is essentially the antecedent. R, which is the behavior or response. And then SR, which is the reinforcing stimulus, which is basically the consequence. And so it's always very, very easy that if you think about those things, and now we're talking about opening a can of soda, that's a very easy one, because an SD for, and if you're studying behavior analysis, it gets a little bit more detailed as you progress, because there's also something else called an MO, which is kind of the motivation factor for doing what you do. But anyway, opening the can of soda could be a variety of things. It could be seeing the soda. It could be, someone telling you to have a drink, or would you like to have a drink? Whatever it is, the antecedent to that. So, whatever it is that is the signal for you to do what you just did in the environment. And then the response, of course, is the actual opening of the can. And because it's a food item, the reinforcer or the consequence is definitely drinking it, right? Or it could be, I suppose in a weird situation, it could be like you did it and everybody cheers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's whatever is the reinforcer. But when there's food involved, food is a primary reinforcer, so there's always going to be that's going to be the consequence. That's going to be the reinforcing factor. So that's that. And then the other one, starting a car, is probably putting the key in the ignition is the SD, turning it to get the car started could be the reinforcer, or realistically the SD could also be seeing the car. It could also be wanting to go somewhere. That starts to become the MO, but still it could be wanting to go somewhere. It could be someone telling you, can you get me a bite to eat? Can you go to the supermarket? Whatever is the instigating factor, that's the SD. And then essentially turning the car on, and then the reinforcer obviously is going where you want to go. So It's very simple. You can apply that to all aspects of life. What we do in behavior analysis is we break it, everything we want to teach the child, we first define the actual behavior or the response, and then it's very easy to see the things that surround it, the antecedent and the consequence. And that's really, really important. Often the antecedent and consequence are indirectly related, but we don't want to go there. It gets too complicated.
That's a fascinating thing, though. So hopefully that cleared that up for you. And I want to encourage you to check out our Jargon of the Day playlist on YouTube and see, as you're working through some of these things, you can rate. And we love it when people write in and tell us, because it's usually me doing it, and sometimes I don't get it exactly right. So check out, but a lot of people love our Jargon of the Day.
That's awesome.
So
I love
it's
that.
a fun thing. So check it out. Next question is very quick. That somebody wrote in and said, has Mrs. Penrod ever, I love it when people call me Mrs. Penrod. Nobody ever calls me that. When I used to teach, I was Mrs. P. So Mrs. Penrod is my mother. I don't know who that is.
That's so cool.
Has Mrs. Penrod ever considered having her husband come onto the show to give a father's perspective of raising an autistic child?
That's
and
pretty cool.
He has been on the show.
That's awesome.
So I think he hasn't been on in like 3 years, but you definitely check it out. We also had Nancy's husband on the show while he was alive for just the most beautiful interview. So if you if you search on our YouTube page, my husband's name is Jim Miller, And so if you put Jim Miller Autism Dad, it'll come right up. It's from 2014. I know right where to find it. Okay, moving on though. But my husband is lovely. He's the nicest man ever. Heaven only knows what he's doing with me. We don't know. But
he really is lovely.
And honestly, the first time I met him, we were in a play together, and I would come home and talk to my roommate about how much I disliked him because he was so nice.
Amazing.
That was my complaint about him. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is like too nice. He's just,
Awesome.
and I just disliked him because I liked the bad boy in the cast who didn't have the time of day for me and was mean to me. It took me 10 years to come back and be like, oh, wait a second, maybe you should end up with a nice guy.
Exactly. And
he's so nice. We always laugh that when we go someplace, customer service is a thing with me. I digress, but if I don't get good customer service, I let people know, and I get loud, and I'm like, this is not how this should go, and I'll be saying to somebody, this is not right, as my husband is pulling me out of the store saying, thank you so much for your time, and appreciate you, as I'm like, no, we don't appreciate you, and he's like, well, we really thank you for our time. He's always doing that to me. He does that out of IEP meetings sometimes too. Okay, moving on. Hi, Dr. Shannon. My son is 3 years old. He's been doing ABA about 14 hours a week plus 3 hours of school in the morning. Mm-hmm. I had him in special needs class before, but he got a scholarship for a private school. Only thing he's mixed with neurotypical kids. I've noticed he's having a hard time when we take objects away. Even if we try to make it fun for another activity or calm him down with words and caressing him. I thought I had done something with his diet that was causing this. He grabbed my hair and glasses, and I was so upset, even though I didn't want to get upset. Today, he scratched one of the therapists, they told me. He also fell off a chair when he was being fed at school because he was swinging back too hard. The therapist told me they are teaching him how to play with different objects. Going back to the diet, the only thing new was B12 shots. And I'm starting to introduce more starches and grains, but his main diet is no carbs, no sugar besides honey, just wonder. A lot there.
Yeah, a lot going on. So let's just split this up for you a little bit. I don't know if any of the dietary or medical changes would cause this level of frustration for him. The B12 shots are not going to produce that kind of effect. And it doesn't sound like you've done a massive change in anything. So realistically, without knowing him, without having seen him, without knowing his functioning level, my analysis of what you've written leads me to believe that he is frustrated because he has been forced recently to give up some of the things that he likes to do, as you mentioned. And I think what it is if you think about it a little differently, it always helps for us to think about how we organize our own lives. Like when we are children, we spend a much, much larger amount of time playing than doing anything else. Okay, so it's like when you're very, very young, when you're like 2 and 3, all you do is play. You eat, you play, you have a massive amount of reinforcers. You eat, you play, you sleep. They're all reinforcing. And then once you hit, let's say 3 or 4, you start going to nursery school, and that is also, or preschool, and that is also somewhat reinforcing because most of our kids want to play with other kids, right? So that's another level of reinforcement, although it's now also starting to introduce you to the concept of demands. So get up at a certain time, go to school at a certain time, you can't be with your parents all day long, that kind of stuff. So demand enters when we go to school, everything else is reinforcing. Then we go a little bit older and you're looking at more academics, right? As you age, what increases is more academics, more school, more demands, and your reinforcers start to decrease. It just is. That's the way it is because your time starts going into school. So now you have to get up. Sometimes you'll have hard classes that you don't like. Maybe at this point your parents really want you to do athletics. You may not like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you start doing that you don't like. They're not reinforcers. And then there's your reinforcers, which used to be almost all day long, have now decreased. Your sleep has decreased, your play activity time has decreased, you might be watching your food because you might be on a diet, whatever. Your reinforcers decrease, your demands increase. And as we age, that continues to get worse and worse and worse over time. So if you look at us as adults, we have to get up, especially if you have a child, okay? So you have to get up very early, you have to deal with your child's issues, you have to deal with your own issues, your family's issues, finances, go to work, get back home, cook, take care of everything. Where are your reinforcers? We often don't have any reinforcers left. Maybe sitting down for a meal might be a reinforcer. Maybe once a month you go out with your friends or your husband or spouse or whatever. That might be for men. On the weekend they watch sports, maybe that's a reinforcer. So our reinforcers become much less and much more distant from each other, right?
Yeah.
But and we cope. We really cope. And when are we the happiest? When we're just about to do something very reinforcing, like take a vacation, right? So if you look at your lifestyle, your own life, you balance it. People who are not successful at that, they find reinforcers that are not good for them. For instance, someone who's super stressed out and can't handle the lack of reinforcers in their life will turn to other things, like they might shop like crazy, they might drink like crazy, they might do drugs, they do things that are superficially reinforcing and not really good for you, but nevertheless they give them that little shot of reinforcer, right? Because they don't have it in their ongoing life. People who do balance that well are able to continue to do things like they'll actually find, jogging reinforcing, which is also good for them. They'll maintain a good diet, which is also reinforcing. They learn to live with long-term reinforcers, or reinforcers that don't pay off immediately, but they do in the long run. So just to get you to think about your own life and other people's lives, the whole concept is about having a balance of reinforcers. And this is incredibly important, no matter who you are, what your functioning level is, or anything else. Now, for your child, he already has this thing going on where he was in special ed class and now he's in regular, right? So he doesn't have help there. That's already an increase in demand. There's no question. Going from special ed to a regular private school, his demands are going to increase. That means his reinforcers should increase at the same time, because otherwise he's just not ready. You're giving him more demands, and now you're reducing his reinforcers, which is what you're doing, is you're taking objects away that he likes to play with. You might try to give him other things, but those are clearly not as enjoyable for him as the thing he was doing before. So you might want to give him stuff that you think should be the right reinforcer for him, but it isn't. He would prefer to, let's say, stay on an iPad, right? A lot of parents call me and they're like concerned because the kids are on the iPad too often, right? And obviously over time we all want to get our kids to do a variety of different types of things, but you always have to remember that a reinforcer for someone is not necessarily what you think, it's what they think. So for your child, it might be that if you are increasing demands right now, which you're putting him in regular school, this is not the right time to be reducing the reinforcers in his life. It's just not the right time. You need to make sure that he has access to those things that he really wants if you're going to increase demand, or you need to not increase demand if you're going to start working on having him rotate play. I would not be rotating play, or I would not be worried about how to play right now. I would be worried about helping him keep up with the new school, because the new school is a whole new thing and it's brand new, and he needs to be not just successful but happy there. Once you see that he's doing really well, then you deal with the whole concept of, oh, I want to broaden his array of toys that he plays with. And when you do it slowly. So for instance, let's say the object that he really likes is the iPad, as an example. He's 3, so it'll probably, he's 3, so it's probably be something else, but let's assume it's a toy that he self-stimulates with. It doesn't really matter, whatever it is. You only take it away for I don't know, 5 seconds, and you have it in sight, and then you give him something else to play with very briefly, and you give it back, so that he learns. That's the pre-MAC principle. So he learns that he can actually get this thing back, even if it's something he's going to self-stimulate with. He can get it back as long as he plays with this other thing for a tiny amount of time. Then you gradually increase that tiny amount of time so that the object he wants to play with is sitting there while he's playing with this one, and he finishes it. Like a puzzle would be a good thing. If you start with like a 3-piece puzzle, he can do that and help him. He can do it real fast, then he can get his iPad back or whatever it is. Then you do a 10-piece puzzle, a 15, a 20, a 50, so you're expanding the duration of time he's doing something else, but ultimately you're rewarding it with him knowing he's going to get this other object back. When you take stuff away that's rewarding, always remember you're reducing his reinforcers. So you've got to balance it out somewhere else. Okay. It's very, very important.
And thank you for really specifically answering her question, but I need to address the thing in the first sentence that's the elephant in the room, that he's 3 years old and he's getting 14 hours of ABA plus 3 hours of school in the morning, and people are going to tell you, well, that's a lot. 14 hours a week of therapy and 3 hours of school in the morning, and I need for you to know that it's not what the prescription is. That's not what the prescription is.
That's right. Good point. Yeah, I get so used to it nowadays because it's so hard for people to really get the hours that they're supposed to get.
But we need to tell parents that they need to be fighting because this, and your insurance company is telling you this is what's appropriate, your school is going to tell you what, and your mother-in-law is going to tell you, and they're all lying to you.
Wrong.
Or they're ill-informed, one or the two.
Yeah.
Because that is not what science has shown is going to be what gets it done for this 3-year-old.
That's right. And he's 3, so let's not really waste time. Honestly, and I don't want to tell you to pull him out. He has a scholarship for a private school. But if it was my child at 3, I wouldn't be putting him in school, period. I would be doing 40 hours of ABA for as long as I could. In other words, I would hold him from school until he's 5. I would really want to pack some ABA into him because it's one-to-one teaching. He's not going to fall behind. He's going to excel. And I wouldn't be worried at all about the social aspects of things because there's so many different ways you can get social activity. Now that he's in school and potentially you may not want to listen to our advice and pull him out, I would make sure he has a one-to-one aide at least with him in school the whole time. 15 hours a week in school is a lot for a 3-year-old. And 14 hours of ABA on its own is not enough. You can also use the weekends to increase your ABA. If your insurance doesn't allow your ABA to occur at school, which most insurances won't allow, you can always increase the ABA by doing all weekend long ABA as well, but then go to your school and also get a shadow for him. That way you'll have 15 hours of one-to-one in school, and then you'll still have about 30 hours of ABA going on in addition to that. And that's the ideal.
And I have to say to you that when my son was 3 and the school was saying, well, we want to have him, they wanted to have him 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that was what they were fighting for, even filed due process against me to try to compel me to do that. And we wanted to do a 40-hour-a-week ABA program, and we had to fight. And everybody and their brother's dog told me there's no way you're going to be able to do that. And we saw, look at the studies, and if you want to write to me and I'll send the studies to you so that you can see them clearly. If your child is not getting 25 to 40 hours, and really emphasis on the 40, not the 25, you're really going to kick yourself later on. And I try not to mamby-pamby it anymore because I had a mom who I was like, well, you want to consider it. Well, it's really, you should look at the studies. And then she came back to me and said, Shannon, why didn't you shake your finger, your bony finger in my face and say it's life and death right now, that you have an opportunity, don't squander it. So I apologize for being blunt, but honestly, if you really want to get at this, that's what your answer is that you got to up those ABA hours. Definitely. And if somebody else won't pay for it, you got to find a way to do it yourself. You can use skills. That's why I keep it on the desk. We are not at the mercy of everybody else. We have to rise to this occasion.
Absolutely.
And he's 3 and it's now, and I'll help you, I promise. But
it's such a gift to have a child who's 3. It's such a gift because you have the opportunity right now. And you know, honestly, sometimes I will tell the parents, if finances weren't an issue, if someone said to you, I can give you however many hours you want, what would you do?
Oh.
You know what I mean? If you take that out of the formula, I'm pretty sure we all would say, sure, pile it on. Why not? My child is learning one-to-one. It's a lot more beneficial. It's like someone giving you the gift of a tutor for your child every single day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So, and it really is amazing, and he will do really well if you increase the hours. I do also want to, there's another part of the question, which is he was swinging back too hard. You know, this is a good example of the fact that he isn't, first of all, he's being fed at school. He's 3, so he should learn how to feed himself before he goes there. If he still needs a lot of assistance, then they need to give him a one-to-one so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
With the
appropriate training.
Yeah, and be very, like, this is an example of, let me just explain this one thing. This is why I never put my kids in school until they're fully ready. And if I do put them in school, I want to make sure there's a therapist or a shadow aide with the child. Because look what could be happening here. My assumption from this sentence, he fell off a chair when he was being fed at school because he was swinging back too hard. Aside from the fact that that's extremely dangerous for your child, just remember, look at what's happening here. He's doing this, okay, and he's being fed. So that means he's receiving a reinforcer for doing this. This behavior will increase. It will not go away. So these little mistakes that are made at school can lead to a lot of greater problems. He should not be receiving food if he's swinging back. They need to prevent that, because otherwise it will increase, because food is the primary reinforcer we all respond to. So if he's receiving food while swinging back, it's just going to increase.
Yeah. And we've given you a lot of information, so I want to make sure you know I'm sending you an air hug too.
Yes.
Because this is not easy, but I don't want you to waste this time. Clearly, you're a great parent and you're on it and you're doing your level best, but I think people are giving you wrong information because it's what suits them.
Absolutely.
And so, we want you to be able to do what's going to give your child the chance to make progress that's substantive. So, having said that, I think we should take a quick break.
Sure.
And we got a bunch more questions and more questions coming in, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For this month, I figured we're going to do a super special portrait that is in the theme of October, which means spooky eyes that follow you as you walk around. In this activity, you and your child are going to work on emotions and sociodramatic play. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a camera, a ping pong ball, X-Acto blade, tape, and a marker. And if your kids are up to it, props and costumes. Now let's take some photos. It's a great time to work on emotions and sociodramatic play. Let's get our props.
See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide.
Once you finish your photo shoot with your child, select one of the photos and print it out on a large piece of paper. Now that you've selected your photo, you're going to take an X-Acto blade and just cut out the eyes from it. This part of the activity is definitely only for the adults. Now that you've finished cutting out the eyes, what we're going to do next is take a ping pong ball and cut it in half. You'll see why in just a moment. So with the ping pong balls, we're going to create the illusion of the following eyes. So what you're going to do is take a marker and you're going to make a dot in the very, very center. You're going to want to make it like the same size of what the iris was in the photo. Now that the ping pong balls are done, I'm just going to tape them to the back of the photograph. So does it look like she's following you? Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity for Smarty. Until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live and Ask Dr. Doreen. We're here with Dr. Doreen Grandpichet, and she's answering your questions. And I have all these good questions that I want to get to. Hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Thank you for this forum and being beacons of hope. I love that. Thank you for saying that. You have no idea how much you brighten my days as I listen to you in my car daily. We're new to the world of autism, so I'm catching up with old episodes, actually. My son is 2.5 years old. He is sweet with a mild temper, no major behavior problems. He has been in 40 hours of ABA for 7 months with steady progress in everything except spontaneous mands. He has 2 spontaneous functional words. He's obsessed with alphabets and numbers, even says words that begin with each letter in alphabetical order. I'm starting to panic about why he won't mand spontaneously. My BCBA is a little stumped too. He is prompt and reinforcer dependent. I'm worried about him gaining language and want some hope that he can still catch up, and thanks for taking my question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Don't be worried. Spontaneous mands are not hard, especially since he has 2 already. Kids who are in love with alphabets and numbers tend to be hyperlexic, which means he will learn reading a lot faster than any other child, and that reading can help him with his verbal answers as well. Just keep that in mind. So your BCBA should be including visual written words in a lot of his lessons as prompts. They should be using words as prompts. Because
text, you mean like on
text.
on a card?
Yes, or under the picture or under the object, whatever it is, but in a multitude of ways, because that will increase his response speed. Now, in terms of manding, the situation with what I would do here is I would make sure he knows the labels for a whole bunch of different things he likes, wants, foods, drinks, etc., etc. You just hold the object there, let's say it's juice, and I don't know how else he makes his needs known. Potentially he's 2.5, so he hopefully either points or takes you by the hand to various things, and you just hold it there and you model juice, and he'll say juice, and you give it to him, and you have to fade the prompt. And you have to fade the prompt. Like, I want to say that again and again, you have to fade the prompt. So that means that you basically will now no longer say juice, you'll maybe say j, and then gradually you will just say, and you'll say nothing, and you will allow him to say it before you give it to him. Don't give it to him unless he requests it. One way to prompt that is to, like, for instance, this is the juice, have the word juice written on it. As I said, visual things will really help prompt him. But the idea with development of spontaneous mands, if he already has 2 especially, don't worry, he's going to get more. But someone is not being strict enough. So I don't know who that is on his team or what, but you basically need to prompt and just wait and then reduce the prompts. And I wouldn't worry, he should be good. You're also doing 40 hours, which is fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah. And I just want to back up for a second. For people who are watching who, like this parent, are new, the word man is one of those crazy words that I now say it too, and I go, oh, well, manding, as if everybody knows what that means. And if you're new, it's
manding is asking for something. Manding is requesting. Spontaneous means that the child does it on their own without someone prompting them to do it. So another idea I had right now, as you were saying that, Shannon, is I would suggest you go on the IBT website, Institute for Behavior Training, and look in their modules. Look at whatever area you want. Professional modules are going to be a little bit more advanced. And there is one that is focused on teaching manding. So please look at that, because it takes you visually with video over every step of how to teach spontaneous manding.
Okay, I want to shift gears to a couple of questions that have come in just now on Facebook. One, my 15-year-old is being suspended from autism school and regular school, and now I want to homeschool and push in ABA, and they say in parentheses, we go to card, but I think people will look at me crazy. I lost a job once behind all this, and now just want to stay home and school him. What are your thoughts on homeschooling with services? He gets 15 hours a week of ABA. 15 years old.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. I don't have any problem with homeschooling. Many of our parents homeschool their kids. You just need to, I think if he's 15 years old, you need to really be aware of what your rights are in terms of the content material. Like, it's really important that you have a modified curriculum for him, because at 15 you're not, I don't know what the reason was for him being suspended. That's also very important. Obviously, if it was behavioral issues, you need to be able to address those. If it was people bullying him, then it makes sense, for instance, for you to definitely pull him out and do homeschooling. I don't know what those issues are, but you know, like I was saying earlier, it's really important. And when our kids get 15 and around teenage, it's very hard to be able to tell what the things are that are reinforcing for them. And they have some behaviors that have become ingrained, and so they're not willing to give them up fast enough, and they don't communicate well, so they continue to get frustrated. With our teens and older, I've found that the most important thing is to make sure they're communicating the things that frustrate them. That always helps with reducing their frustrations. But I would definitely consider homeschooling. I don't see a problem with it. You just need to make sure you're focusing. You don't waste too much time trying to teach him things that he's never going to use. You have the luxury of being able to do a modified curriculum that's going to be useful. Usually when I have 15-year-olds, I will do minimal academics and start doing a lot more, especially if he hasn't had ABA his whole life. So I'm assuming he is impacted with pretty intense autism. What I would do is I'd be working on daily living skills, adaptive functioning skills, work-related skills, starting to get him ready for life.
Mom wants you to know she wrote back in and said that it was for behavioral reasons that he was suspended.
Yeah, and usually when our kids are suspended for behavioral reasons, that means that life is unfair. When do we act out? We act out when we don't have enough reinforcers. Like, we will not necessarily act out when we're on vacation laying at a beach, right? We act out when stress is too much, we don't have enough reinforcers in our lives. Same thing with our kids, I think, and they also have the added factor of being frustrated because no one understands exactly what it is they want. And I always say this, one of the things with our kids is obviously they don't have a concept of time. So when they're told you'll get this back later means nothing. When they're told you can't do that right now means nothing. So they're like, why are they taking away all my reinforcers? So, and they act out. And that, you know, schools often don't want to deal with our kids when they're 15 because they're big and their acting out might become dangerous. Certainly with a good ABA program, you can get things sorted out. 15 hours is not enough. I wish you had more, but I know that it's very, very hard to get the funding for more than 15 hours when you're a 15-year-old.
Yeah, it's
just really hard. So, you know, if you're going to homeschool, I don't know what the law is regarding getting some school funding if you're homeschooling. I just don't know. But it would be good if you could get some additional hours of support, because please don't use the 15 hours of ABA to do anything academically. If you're doing academics, use other people, because the ABA assume, especially since it's through us, is being funded through your insurance. If the ABA is being funded through a district, then of course we can do academics. But if it's through an insurance, we should really be dealing with challenging behavior, adaptive skills, vocational skills, daily living skills, those types of things. And then you kind of need another team to do the academics or whatever it is you want to teach them.
And I don't know which state you're in, but if you are in California, okay, she's in California, then I really want to encourage you. Bonnie Yates is on the show every Thursday and gives legal advice and says on the show, please call the offices of Hirji and Chow. We're happy to give you a 30-minute free consultation, and it would be worth your while to get a 30-minute consultation, because when your child is suspended and sent home, realize that the district still has to make sure that your child is learning, because everybody, regardless of whether you behaved in a certain way or not, you have the right to a free, appropriate public education. And if the school has already suspended him, then you're in a position to negotiate to get some additional funding for things. And you're going to want to talk to a lawyer about that. Bonnie Yates would be thrilled to talk to you. It's Hirji and Chow. And you can reach out to her and say, give me a consultation. Say Shannon sent. Shannon said to talk to you, because that will help you. There's some great homeschool programs. And, it sounds like that is what you want and what you feel like is best for your child. So here's my other thing for you is that if everybody else thinks you're crazy, who cares?
Yeah,
I don't
honestly.
think you're crazy. Dr. Granpeche doesn't think you're crazy.
Absolutely.
And I always say I'm going to get a pillow that says other people's opinions of my parenting is none of my business.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what they think?
Yeah, honestly.
Because nobody's dealing with what you're dealing with. I'm not dealing with what you're dealing with. You're the only one. So if that's what you feel is right, then you go, girl. you go. Okay, moving on to another question here. My 4-year-old diagnosed at level 2 ASD. And again, I know that makes you crazy because nobody gives the parents 2 numbers. Level 2 ASD, as per DSM-5, gets 30 hours a week. Since last few weeks, he has been non-compliant, trying to challenge everything I say to him. He has been very anxious on making choices, and he enters into a loop of saying, I want, I don't want. And either way, he ends up in a fit of anger and crying. Please help on easing his anxiety over making choices and how to find out of the loop of yes or no.
Yeah, this is tough. So I'm when you get a diagnosis, you're supposed to actually get 2 levels. No one is actually ever supposed to use the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and they do, but whatever. If they're going to use 2, then you need to have 2 of those, not just 1, because now I don't know if the 2 refers to his social communication deficits or to his self-stimulatory ritual behaviors. Let's assume it's both. That means your child is somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, which essentially means that he would have a lot of difficulty with social language and with executive functions and perspective taking, that sort of thing. I don't know what his ritualistic habits are. It's very, very hard for me to comment on this question, because it's a very specific question and I don't know enough about your child or what's going on with him. But I will say that if he's having, a lot of kids have issues with the yes or no, I want, don't want. If you see anxiety occurring, the simple answer is reduce the demand and increase the reinforcer. Period. That's just the simplest thing. You need to reduce the demand, like maybe even put this lesson on hold for a little while. Do another lesson that helps him get stronger with the concept of what he wants or doesn't want. Like, for instance, just focus on I want right now and alter the response for when he doesn't want things to just say no. So you'll be now rotating I want with no, and that'll make it easier for him. Right now, it sounds like the complexity level of this particular lesson or other lessons might be too high, which is why it sounds like he's trying to do this thing we used to call win, stay, lose, shift. Win, stay, lose, shift is when you win, you'll stay at the answer. And when you lose, you'll shift your answer. So for instance, you'll throw out an answer like I want, and then you look at people's reactions, and if they're all happy and cheering for you, you'll just keep saying I want, I want, I want, until you get it wrong. And you're supposed to say I don't want, right? So then you'll see everybody's reaction, and everybody's like, no, that wasn't right. Then you'll shift and you'll start saying I don't want. And that means you're paying attention to the reinforcer, but not the actual content of what you're learning. And you're just basing your response on how people react. So that's not what you want, obviously, but when that happens, you got to go back and train each individual thing separately, the I wants separately, the I don't want separately, and then start rotating them again. So I don't know if that helped, but hopefully it did. Sometimes we do see anxiety in our kids because they're trying so hard to get our reinforcers. And
Absolutely.
when they don't, it's called helplessness, like they don't know what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, but wonderful, wonderful answer. I think we're all going to process that right back to us and let us know how that works. I want to shift here to a question. Somebody said, hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. I love the show and have been watching since its early beginnings.
Yes.
My question is, how do I change the habit of using food as a way of transitioning from one task to another? When I come home from work, I always have a snack, and that is on the bottom of your page there. I always have a snack before doing something. Similarly, if say I'm tidying my room, I'll eat something before I go outside to water the garden. I find it takes up a lot of time. I'm 26 and high functioning. Keep up the great work. And we want to say thank you. And I love that.
I love that too. You're the best. I love that you wrote into us. Thank you so much. That's so rewarding.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, what I would suggest is that you start by just reducing the food. So you don't have to completely eliminate it right now. Just take a look and see what it is, how much. So there's two things we're going to work on reducing. The first thing is you're just going to list out how many times a day you're eating, because it has to do with how many activity switches you have, right? So let's say you are having something to eat 8 times a day, okay? Because you switch activities 8 times a day. Leave the 8 alone and you'll just reduce the amount of each one. You'll reduce it until it becomes something like 2 bites, okay? It's still there, but it's just 2 bites. Now we're going to start looking at the number. And instead of 8, you're going to do 7. And you're going to do that, you're going to reduce because from the, how do I say this? So there will be, if you have 8 snacks, you'll have 9 activities, right? Pick the activity that is the most rewarding of all the activities. Let's say gardening would be a self-rewarding activity, and drop the snack right before gardening, okay? So what you're doing is you're now reducing that number 8 to 7, but you're removing the one that comes right before a very reinforcing activity, okay? Now now stay at that level for a week or 2, then go to 6. Now you're going to find the next activity that's very reinforcing, and you're going to reduce that, okay? Now you're on 6 snacks. 6 snacks can be altered to be 3 meals and 3 snacks, okay? Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
Now what you want to go to doing is, okay, I will just now have 3 meals, which are at certain times, and 3 snacks, okay? And now you'll have those, and it'll just replay, it'll just be there, and actually it'll be great because 3 of the snacks you'll be increasing because they'll turn into meals. Mm-hmm. And then what you'll do is the ones where there are snacks, if you still are bothered by the fact that you're having a snack in between activities, it's only 2 bites. Take it with you to the activity. Do it during the activity. It seems like you're concerned more about the amount of time it takes to have a meal rather than something like weight gain or so, which is great. So just take it with you to the activity. If you do it a while during the activity itself takes on the properties of heavy-duty reinforcer, and then you'll see that it'll be much easier to eliminate the snack. So that's classical conditioning, where you pair a heavy reinforcer with something that's maybe not as reinforcing. If you do it for a while, that activity becomes very reinforcing as well.
Wonderful. I want to take a minute to say, Mike Hipple, who's a fan of the show and has been on the show, and Mike, I still want to do a series with you where we're going to talk about augmentative devices. We still want to do that. He has written in and said, just wanted to say happy Augmentative Alternative Communication AAC Awareness Month, which I did not know that was this month. And he said, please think about joining United States Society of AAC, USSAAC, which is what the whole thing stands for, and donate to help families who lost their child's communication devices in hurricanes. And so, Mike, we want to thank you for reminding us about that. And there are more and more victims and more places that need support, and what a great thing. So again, that's the United States Society of AAC. AAC stands for Augmentative Alternative Communication. So the whole thing all together is USSAAC. And you guys can find that online and make a donation.
Very nice.
Okay. Hi, Shannon. I'd like to find a good program for my son. He's 21 and has high-functioning autism. He's smart and very verbal. Are there any good schools near Virginia Beach that you would suggest?
Yeah.
You're better at knowing things on that coast.
I don't know enough about Virginia Beach, unfortunately. What I would recommend, which would be very helpful to you, is if you could call our academy in Virginia. They will know. Call the academy. It's the CARD Academy. It's going to be on our website in Virginia, and speak with Marianne Cassell. Marianne will know. She knows the area, she knows Virginia Beach very well, and she'll be able to help you there.
So you want to go to centerforautism.com, click on the locations tab, and then you will find Alexandria Academy on that list. And so that will be how,
Right.
and they'll have a phone number there that you can call. So it's centerforautism.com, click on the locations tab, which will be on the top, on the left-hand side to be able to do that. Somebody else has written in and said, are there ABA providers for adults in California that accept insurance, and what skills do they instill?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, of course, we, CARD, for instance, we accept insurance, and we have about, I think we have about almost 400 adults in our program. So yes, we deal with adults. I'm sure there are other providers as well. The types of things that we teach our adults will vary. We're on a sort of a hierarchy based on the needs of the adult. So if you have an adult who is pretty severely affected with autism, then we will do much more of the basic functional communication type stuff. So, so starting at sort of level 1, we're looking at functional communication for adults that really need to learn how to communicate, that it does involve AAC devices, augmentative devices, or PECS type programs, or anything else that the adult needs in order to be able to communicate their needs. And then when you go higher up levels, we start to then, with the same adults, we will then teach them things like daily living skills, like getting up, getting ready on their own. If it's a male, shaving, brushing their teeth, getting dressed, and then we will go on and start teaching them things like vocational skills. So what is their interest? How can we develop a vocational skill for them? Adaptive skills like safety issues and things that they have to be cautious about. Independence, like being able to, and as I'm listing these, I'm going up this hierarchy to more and more advanced adults, because independence would be stuff that we would teach, let's say, a medium to higher functioning adult who would be able to go out and buy something for themselves, to be able to order food at a restaurant, to be able to access public transportation. And then as we go higher, we even teach our adults leisure skills, types of things that would help them socialize with friends and have activities that they enjoy. And then even further up would be, things you need in order to get a job, like developing a resume, or, business attire, or whatever, going to college. We have several adults that we assist in college with just teaching them how to go from one location to another, organize themselves, how to transfer, everything. So essentially it starts from the bottom all the way up to the top. And we have just launched our Skills Adults program, which is called, I believe,
It's Skills Living.
Skills Living. And it's a fantastic, fantastic program. I highly, highly recommend that you look up Skills Living. It's amazing. All the content is listed there, by the way.
One of the things that you are so good, and you never toot your own horn, but one of the things that I've watched you do is that you have made it possible for families all over the world. First of all, you have your centers that are all over the United States, and you have your affiliates that are all over the world. And if you can get to one of those centers to get care for a child or an adult, you should, because it's the best of the best. And you've made that possible. But you didn't, and you could have stopped there, but you didn't. You put all of the curriculum that you've used for so many years that has meant a difference into skills, and now for the adults into Skills Living, so that if you are someplace and you cannot get to CARD, you can go to another provider and ask them to get skills or Skills Living. It's ridiculously inexpensive for them to be able to use with your child, and in that way that ABA provider has all of the curriculum that you would have gotten at CARD, and they can do IBT to get all of the training that they would have gotten at CARD. I would still argue that it's still not quite CARD, but it's the best. It's, so
absolutely.
And then if you can't get to any ABA provider, you as a parent or as a teacher, whatever, have the ability to get skills or Skills Living yourself, so that everyone has a shot at giving the individual that they care about the very best of the best, what's been scientifically
Absolutely.
proven to be effective. And that's what Dr. Grant Pichet
Well,
has done
thank you
for
very much. And then I want you to know that on the same level, in the same breath, this show is an incredible thing that brings so much knowledge and information and help to parents. And
But you
people
also
all over
made
the
that
world.
possible.
Well,
let's
thank
be
you.
honest about that.
I love this show. It's like one of my favorite things. But what I wanted to also just say is that with skills, you don't have to use the whole thing. You can also IBT.
Yeah.
You can print sections and give it to your BCBA or to your provider. There's so much stuff there that is very, very helpful.
Oh.
Honestly, if I was to take on an adult myself right now in treatment, I would be turning to skills because it's a very well organized. All of our supervisors use skills in order for them to be kind of told what they should teach next. So it is extremely useful.
And it is completely customized to each individual too. So it assesses
Absolutely, 100%.
it assesses where they are and then gives recommendations, and then you can customize from there. It's brilliant. Because you're brilliant.
Oh, thank you so
and
much.
we
Jen.
appreciate you more than whatever.
you.
We're straight up at 11, so I'm not going to put
and
you
we
through
didn't
another
get
question.
any more questions.
But we got through a lot
I'm
today.
glad.
We absolutely did. We got through a lot, and I appreciate you more than
It's
you
a
could
pleasure.
ever
Thank
know.
you so much.
And we thank all of you for writing in questions. I'm not going away, but we're going to say goodbye to Dr. Grant Pichet. We're going to take a short break here and show you the A word as we get ready to start Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspot Jackson is joining me, and we're going to have a doggy in the house because Debbie Tippett Clark is here with us from Pautism, and we've got a family that is receiving their therapy dog. This is going to be very exciting. Plus, we have in the news and ever so much more. Stick around. Here is the A word.
Whoa, happy feet there. Are you excited? Wow. Can I have a kiss? Thank you. He did tell Miss Miriam yesterday that he said poopies. She came and got me. We looked, there was none there, so we thought he was telling us stories. And 2 minutes later, there were.
Oh.
Wow. You did it, didn't you? That's exciting.
She's Away's a new therapist and is having an overlap with Jessica. She will be doing fieldwork training until she is ready to independently work with a child. In order for She's Away to work independently, she must first pass a theory-based test, which is her knowledge of autism, and then second, she must pass a field evaluation, which is an overlap where she applies what she has learned.
If I want to do actions, then it looks like we're just doing maintenance right now.
Do the ones that he already has mastered.
And that's in a separate bag. Okay.
Yeah. And then you would just be asking, well, what is the little boy doing? The boy is playing.
Okay.
It should be his answer.
Okay. Jack Riley, my name is She's Away.
Hi, she's away.
Hi, she's away.
Oh, very good. Give me a high five.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so Jack, what would you like to do after we do a program? Would you like bubbles?
Puzzle.
Oh, puzzle? Okay, we can do puzzle.
Since we're using the puzzle as a reinforcer, don't give it to him yet
right.
until you do the program. Because now he's like, well, I already got the puzzle,
yeah,
so
why should I?
Why should
Okay.
it work?
What is the boy doing?
He's sitting.
Oh, good! One sticker. What is this man doing?
What's it to?
Yeah! What is she doing?
She's kicking.
Yeah!
Hey, good job.
What is he doing?
He's Buzz Lightyear positive.
Yeah, that was great!
So bring out some other ones.
She's Buzz Lightyear.
What are they doing?
She's hugging.
Yes, they're hugging!
Are you taking data as you're going along?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is he doing?
He's sweeping.
Oh, yeah, you're so good!
He's sweeping.
So make sure you write the
The
stimuli,
stimuli,
too.
yeah. It's like, I don't want to take too much time. Should I just be quick with it?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they doing?
He's playing.
Yeah, they're playing! Good job, Jack!
Play a box.
They are playing blocks. You're so smart.
What is he doing?
He's playing.
Yeah, another one!
Play a box.
He's playing blocks too.
He's playing a car.
He's playing cars. That's right.
What is she doing?
He's waving.
Yeah! What are they doing?
He's waving.
Yeah! You finished! Good job, Jack Riley. Give me high fives. Can you do high fives? Yes! Okay. You ready to play with your puzzle? Okay, here.
Where's the cow? Where's the cow? Oh, good job. What does he say? What does the cow say? What does he? Moo! Hi, Monkey. You want a pillow sandwich? Okay, go get me the pillows. Will you show She's the way how we do your pillow sandwich?
I want to see this pillow sandwich.
Okay, ready? One. Hold on. Can you let go? Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Squish! Pillow sandwich. It's a pillow sandwich. And here we get there's a lot of opportunities for him to ask for things. Like if he wants more of jumping, more of pillow sandwiches. It's called man training.
Oh.
So what we're doing is we're giving him frames because he knows that I want and give me, but we're trying to teach him a new frame, which is can I have something. So how we prompt him is something that he really, really wants, like, pillow sandwiches or having you pick him up or something.
Okay.
And I've been prompting him with a partial verbal with just the cup, and he knows to say, can I?
Okay.
So, I mean, we could track that later, but this is just one of the opportunities that you can use to to do that program. Do you want more? When you say, can I? Yes, you can have pillow sandwich. Come here. Crash! Ask her, say, can.
Okay, come here, let me see you. Oh, how fun is that?
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Allspot Jackson.
I'm Shannon Penrod. Thrilled to be here
Hi,
with you
good
this
to
morning.
be here with you too.
And we got a big show, including a furry friend who's going to be on the
Yes,
show
we do.
today. I informed my dog this morning. I talk to her sometimes in the morning. And I have a wonderful, wonderful dog that we're not even sure which 7 breeds she is, but she was a shelter dog.
Right.
And she's so sweet with us. She's so kind and wonderful with us. But anybody else is around, especially blonde women, because apparently a blonde woman
Abused her at some point.
and she would eat.
I know you've always told me not to go anywhere near her.
We call her Cujo. We don't allow anybody to be around her because she's vicious.
Right.
When she thinks that you're threatening my home, which is standing and breathing in my home with my child in it, forget it. But I talked to her in the morning and I was saying to her, I'm having a dog on the show today, and when I get home, you're going to be jealous. And because she'll smell me up and down, because she's somewhere there's a bloodhound in her.
Right.
But I was like, we're having a puppy.
Aww.
Daisy, we're having a puppy on the show. And she was just wagging her tail and was like, do I get to come? And No, you don't. So
we
you
have two
dogs.
dogs. We have 2 dogs. We have a big dog that we call a Labradese because he's part Lab, part Bernese Mountain Dog.
He's beautiful.
And he is beautiful. And then we have a little rescue pup named Casey, a terrier who is a mess.
Sweet.
She's sweet, but she's a mess.
She
still hasn't gotten quite. She still has accidents in the house, and she was on the streets for quite a while apparently before we adopted her.
But she's super duper sweet.
She
and the 2 of them
and
together
adorable.
make quite a pair.
They do.
And it's a lovely thing. And our kids they respond really well to animals.
Yes, they do.
And that's not every kid on the autism spectrum, but I remember we were in a little condo where we couldn't have a pet, and we were forever going with the therapist and walking around the block, and we would always find these dogs that were running around with no collars on
Really?
and in the street, and we would rescue them and bring them home. and put up flyers
Right.
and wait for the owners to come and get them. I mean, honestly, almost like on a weekly basis. And the therapist would always say to me, he like responds so much better, Shannon, when
Right.
there's a dog around. You got to
Right.
figure out a way to have
Well,
a dog.
there's what they call them social lubricants too,
Yes.
because it gives them something to talk about and
Yes.
relate to.
Well, and that was our plan when we got our dog. That he'll be walking the dog
Yeah.
around the block, and people will be talking. The way it turned out is
Yeah.
that he's being dragged around the block, and people are going,
Right.
"Oh gosh!"
Yeah.
and running in their homes. So that wasn't how it worked out. But still, teaching them the responsibility of giving the dog water,
Right.
petting the dog,
Right.
letting the dog in and out,
Yes.
walking the dog, feeding it, all those things, really good life skills.
they are good
and
life
it helps
skills.
to reduce stress for the whole family.
Right.
Even
And-
when they eat your couch, there is still a reduction in stress. Anyway, we got a lot of in the news, and then we got a
Yes.
guest coming up a little bit later. Debbie Clark is
With
going to be with us
Autism.
from Autism, and with Act Today, you guys, in
We've got a
conjunction
nice
with
check
her,
to give her today.
because there's a family that's going to get a dog,
Right.
And the
And
dog is
it's
going
gonna
to
be
come
trained.
and be here with us.
And the dog is going to be trained
And
by
do we
Debbie.
know? And do we know what the dog's name is yet?
The dog's name? Yes, we do.
I don't know what the dog's name
I
is.
have the
We'll
dog's
to see.
name here somewhere.
But it's going to be exciting because a dog in the house is always better than a dog
Right.
not in the house. In any case, let's dive
Can't
into
find
some
the dog's
news.
name. The dog's name, Blau.
Blau.
That's what I have. Maybe
Well,
it's supposed to
that's-
be blue, but it's Blau.
Okay.
We'll see if that's correct.
Samantha's telling
an
me
odd-
something. What did you tell me, Samantha?
It's an odd name.
It's Blau. She says it's
It's
Blau.
Blau.
You're absolutely correct.
There must be a reason for that name.
I can't wait to hear.
Okay.
There's a story behind that. In any case, some in the news for us. One of the things that we know, and you know certainly as the executive director of Autism Care and Treatment Today, that the number one cause of death in children that are under the age of, I think it's 15, on the autism spectrum is drowning.
Right.
And we've always been big advocates of doing all kinds of things to ensure that that doesn't happen to your
Right.
child. And one of them is giving them swimming lessons.
Swimming lessons, very important.
And a new study is showing that if you specifically tailor swim lessons to life-saving skills like being able to flip over in your back,
Right.
that it really can make a difference, that children on the autism spectrum benefit from those kinds of lessons. It's just all the more reason why we should do it. We really want to encourage everybody that's out there. There are all different kinds of ways
Yes.
to get this kind of training
And
for
there's some
your kids.
different methods of teaching an autistic child.
Yeah. And you know much more about the swimming thing than I do. We really have to have our swim chick, Tammy, our swim
Anderson.
chick,
Yeah.
back on the show. You're somebody who is a very proficient swimmer, and I'm not.
Right.
And sitting and talking with the two of you, I can swim and I
Right.
can hold my own in
Right.
the deep end of the pool. It's not that I don't know how to swim. I can do that. But in terms of being able to support a child in the pool in the deep
Right,
end, I
right.
wouldn't put me in charge of
Right,
that. I don't
right.
think so. For me, it's particularly. I want to say to parents, we really have to make this a priority that our kids
And
can all
yeah, and it's
swim well.
important to start thinking about it now, no matter what age your child is, because
Yes.
summer comes around way too fast, and there are, as we said, different techniques, different instruction techniques,
And there's even grant money.
There is through Autism Speaks. They provide swim classes for children and swim lesson scholarships. They awarded 134 organizations since 2014.
There you go. So what I suggest you do is find a place near you that does swim lessons. Call them and say, do you have any experience with kiddos that are on the autism spectrum? Because you really want to have somebody who knows how to do
Yes,
special
you do.
needs swimming. And our local one automatically was half price for a kiddo who was
Really?
on the spectrum, automatically. But ask them, do you participate in the Autism Speaks grant situation? And if they don't, right now it's open grant season for ACT Today.
Right.
ACT-today.org from now till the end of the month. You can write in and ask for a grant. And there are other places too online and other organizations
Yes.
that provide grants for swimming.
Yeah.
Usually I say to parents, because there's so many places that give grants for the swimming, don't apply for a grant for swimming from ACT Today. Save that for something else that
Right,
you need so that you
right.
maximize your grant funds. But if you really can't find something, there are grants
Right.
through ACT Today.
There are.
Okay, moving on to our, you want to start that off?
There's a study that says that autism is mostly genetic. This is in the Independent, out of UK, the Independent News. Is that what it is? The Independent?
Yes, Independent.
Okay. And it says that autism is caused by genetic factors with the heritability of the condition 33% higher than previously thought. This is new research.
And so that leads us to a number of 83% of it is, so according to this, is hereditary. We have said for the longest time it's epigenetics,
right?
That it is both the environment and your genetics.
Heredity combined together.
And what this doesn't really address in this study is that more and more, I think what we're seeing is that with certain genetic makeup, it means you are more likely to react to the environmental stimulus.
Yes, exactly.
So,
leaves you more susceptible to those environmental stimulus.
But still, what I want people to know is that the flip side of it is that people who have been toying with lessening the environmental have been able to have great success in either eliminating the risk for autism or minimizing the impact of it.
Right.
So while, I think it's important to get these things and to really nail down the genetics of it, the environmental still plays a ginormous role.
Yes, it sure does.
So, okay.
And then this is a very interesting story. You want to take this one about too much Facebook?
The headline says, too much Facebook can give you virtual autism. We just last week we were talking about how there's all of these different ways that autism awareness has increased, and that you turn on the TV and there's a character on every single TV show that has autism, and in some cases they're actually using the word autism. And, so it's wonderful, but then we get things like this, and it adds to the misconception, because basically what they're saying is that if you spend all your time on your smartphone, your social skills go downhill, and your ability to make eye contact goes downhill because you're engrossed in something and you're distracted. But I think we need to be really careful how we language these things, because it makes it sound like your smartphone can give you autism, which then suggests that if you don't have if you don't have a smartphone, then you won't have autism, and all of those are wild misconceptions.
And it says the more Facebook friends you have, the more stress you're subjected to.
What? Like, how do you measure that?
It says we were able to show that beyond 300 Facebook friends, adolescents showed higher cortisol levels. We can therefore imagine that those who have 1,000 or 2,000 friends on Facebook may be subjected to even greater stress. Okay,
but you're supposing that the only thing in your life is your Facebook friends. That's what's okay, whatever. Sometimes research makes me want to run screaming.
And this was out of Sunshine Coast University, which I've never heard of. That doesn't even sound like a real school. I'm sorry. Sunshine Coast University.
I know. Let's do a study. In any case, whatever. There was a news story out though today, and I tend to pick news stories from the UK because I feel like they cover them better.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, and they cover more things from the UK. But this is coming from the UK. Now, my son doesn't have a big issue at a shopping mall sensory-wise. I think I have more of an issue than he does. What about for you? Does Wyatt have an issue shopping?
At times he does, yes.
Because sometimes the lights are so bright and it's so noisy, especially during the holidays. Man, I can't go to the mall during the holidays. I really can't.
I get Costco stress out.
Oh, see, Costco I'm okay, but the mall, and especially like I love me a nice Macy's store, but in the holidays and they're spraying people, and I can't do it. I really cannot do it because it's a sensory nightmare. But in the UK, they've decided to make something called the Autism Hour, and they've gotten a bunch of stores to agree that during that hour they will turn down the music, they will dim the lights, and they will make it a more sensory-friendly shopping experience.
Yeah, which is a great idea.
Which I think is absolutely amazing. We've seen museums do that here in the United States, and now for a shopping mall to do that, They did a study that was done by the National Autistic Society, suggested that 64% of people with autism and their carers have avoided shopping.
Yeah.
And what's great is that the stores are starting to say, well, we want your business. And that's the key to everything.
Right.
When people start to recognize us as consumers, yay howdy, things change.
I avoid stores oftentimes because of the checkout where the candy is at some of the,
Jem used to have a terrible time at the checkout, but it wasn't about the candy because he wasn't allowed the candy. But there's that whole thing where you're in a chute, and he knew that I was trapped.
Right.
I really honestly believe that was the thing that you know how they always say, why do dogs and children, you get on the phone and that's the moment that they bark or that they start, Mom, I need this or whatever. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that they understand, I'm more likely to get what I want right now because in the past, when I've pestered you during this thing, and boy, Jem knew that. He knew I was a trapped customer. And so it was hard until I learned the fine art of big distraction.
Right.
But even then, I needed some help to get through the whole store thing.
Yeah.
I did. I had to have support and help to get through it. So anyway, we're really excited because we've got great guests on the show today. We're even having a dog on the show, and we're going to have the family on the show
that's going to
get that dog. It's like putting all the pieces together. It's going to be a lot of people in the studio, so for part of it, I won't be in here to make room for family and dog and to be wrangling otherwise, but we'll both be here.
Okay.
So let's take a break and let's get some people in the studio. We're going to start with Debbie Clark from Autism talking about what it is that she does. What an amazing woman she
really is.
And what a good person.
Yeah.
And very, very dog-centric, although, has some amazing kids too. We'll talk about that and so much more with her after these messages. Stick with us.
Inclusion is everything. Feeling like we have a place where we belong, and when I say we, I'm first and foremost a mother of a child on the spectrum and gym owner and now founder of carrying this to families who need it as well.
My son is extremely hyperactive. Getting him to calm down is a very difficult task. So the idea of Rock the Spectrum Gym, where he could just go and run and play and do all these fun things without any kind of worries and just go and bring down that energy, it helps us so much at home. In the home or at school, it's not acceptable, but this is the one place it is acceptable for the child to kind of be themselves and get it all out there and just really just be themselves.
It's an amazing place where my son could go and be himself. You get to meet other parents who are in the same journey as you are.
I think the most popular aspect of it is how they include all children of all types, not just only learning disabled, lower functioning, moderate functioning, high functioning, and non-disabled.
The people there are so friendly. Everybody's like family. They always greet you with a smile. There's not one negative thing I could say about any of the employees. They're all absolutely amazing. So I think every parent should walk in through those doors and see what an amazing gym it is.
Now a diagnosis being 1 out of 6 kids are in some way or form affected with sensory processing disorder or autism. That's why We Rock Now is on the rise. People want to be a part of it. People know that they have a community there. They know that they can learn more information about things that they don't know themselves or that they can share, build friendships, and basically get what you get in an OT facility, but it's not $150 an hour. It's $12.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think
about that one?
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a big one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be creating our very own any animal mask. As we work on this activity, you'll notice that these icons will pop up. These icons tell you important information about what skills we're using to create this craft and how to find them on Skills. Skills is an ABA-based online program that helps parents create individualized programs for their children on the autism spectrum. If you're a Skills user, this will make the most out of this artful and educational activity. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are glue, scissors, hole puncher, markers or crayons, pipe cleaners, and the template. So step 1, you're gonna go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/autism-live, and you're gonna print out the templates that you see there. Once your templates are printed out, then you're gonna take your scissors and cut them all out. Now that you're finished cutting out all the templates, you're gonna have several different shapes. This is because this will give you a variety of different features you can use to make different kinds of animals. So this is the fun part. You're gonna take these templates and arrange them into any kind of animal you can think of. Use your imagination. There is no wrong answer. Once you figured out the animal that you're gonna want to make, take out your glue and glue them onto the mask. Once that's been finished, then you're gonna take your markers and crayons and decorate it, drawing in the features a little bit clearly and just making it as colorful as you'd like it to be. For the owl that I made, I had to cut out some more holes through it. Once your animal mask is done being decorated, you're going to use your hole puncher to make holes on the side so you can fasten it to your face. Then you're going to take your pipe cleaners, thread them through the holes, and then voila, your mask is ready to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with me. Until next time, guys, craft on. To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are really excited to welcome for the first time on the show a friend, Debbie Clark, and she is an amazing woman. We're going to take a minute to tell you a couple of things about her, and 3 words that just don't even come close to describing her, but patient, and persistent. Patient, passionate. That's what I want to say.
3 Ps.
But she is somebody who, she's got 2 sons that are on the autism spectrum, and she decided that she wanted to be somebody who was going to train dogs to be able to help individuals who are on the spectrum. I think largely because one had helped your son. Is that true?
Yeah, Dulce. She was the love of my son's life and an important family member. And she passed away last year, but she inspired me to do some research on where I could get training and certified to be a service dog trainer. So I found this organization called Little Angel Service Dog in San Diego, and for 2.5 years I go down there on weekends to work with dogs and train them to be service dogs for all different disabilities.
But you all, you have one of the biggest hearts of anybody that I've ever come across. And I'm sure that happens with your dogs and with your interactions. We did not know you, right? And then when Nancy's husband was dying, I put out a thing to, friends and family, and I posted it on my Facebook and said, hey, who wants to help provide meals for this family while they're going through this?
Right.
And Debbie came
were
along
one of them.
and said,
You were an
okay,
angel.
I want to do this. We'd never even met her at that point. Debbie said, I want to be involved. And then you became the backbone of the entire thing. Debbie was more regular with the meals than anybody else.
Hey, as long as I don't have to cook them, okay?
Well,
You did great.
honestly,
I'm so appreciative
it
of that
was,
help during
it
that
was
time.
an amazing thing.
It really was.
And I was like, man, I want to grow up to be more like you.
Oh, God bless you.
No, I think God bless you, Debbie. And that's
you're
why
just
I
like
said we
an
want to take a
angel.
minute.
You're
You are.
so helpful to so many people.
And clearly, that transfers to the dogs too, and that compassion. But sometimes people, they like put on a good show.
Right.
I just wanted people to know she's the
you
real
walk
deal.
the walk. You walk your
It
talk.
made me cry.
No, you walk your talk. You definitely do.
Well, you guys are doing amazing things here with the show, spreading information
Well-
about autism. I mean, that's
Well,
great.
We try to do what we do, but you've been scheduled to be on the show twice before,
Right.
and life intervened.
You had hip surgery.
And you had some hip surgery,
Right.
and and I said to you then, I was like, "What can I bring you?" Because I thought surely I need to step it up because you did so much when she was going through something, and you were like, "No, I have the whole thing under control. My sons are taking care of me," and I felt like. Darn it! I wanted to try to give back. So at some point, I
got your email and it touched my heart.
Well, it's easy to send an email. You were delivering hot meals week in, week out. Am I not right?
Yes, you were.
Well,
And you're
a
just
friend in need. I think we're all friends in the autism community.
We are, and as
You
autism
know,
moms, we
feel that
bond
way.
together.
That's right.
Yeah.
We got to help out each other.
So
And
tell us a little bit about how you started Pautism.
oh gosh, well, it started with Dulce, my son's service dog. She was an amazing dog, simply amazing, and almost human, and she inspired my son to talk more.
Right.
And he would tell people at school about his dog.
Right.
Gave him, a little. I actually made a little script for him.
Right.
To talk about Dulce. She was a golden retriever. She's such and such an age, and what she likes to do, play fetch, and all that stuff. So he had some talking points. And
he wasn't particularly verbal before he got the dog.
He didn't see any reason for talking.
Right.
He thought small talk was just a waste of time.
Right. Right.
But the dog really inspired him, and I thought, well, there's so many families out there that could benefit from a service dog, and so I did the research, and I found Little Angel service dogs. They had an apprenticeship program that I signed up for, and spent my weekends down there. And Katie Gonzalez was my inspiration, and I'm also a volunteer dog wrangler on the TV show Lucky Dog.
Oh, okay.
On CBS on Saturday mornings.
Right.
And Brandon McMillan, he's probably one of the best trainers around.
Okay.
He's worked with tigers and elephants and lions and bears, and he knew dogs inside and out. So he gave me a lot of pointers on how to train service dogs.
I just was watching on Saturday and a Lucky Dog, and they were featuring a family with a child with autism.
Right.
And was seeing all the things that he was putting the dog paces through to see that the dog was right for the family, because not only did they going to have the dog, but they had a cat too, and there was a younger sister, and it was fascinating to watch and to see how that came about.
Well, because of the time limitations, he didn't have time to make it a full service dog. Because it takes a lot of time and a lot of intense training to make sure the dog does the task 85% of the time.
Okay.
So, Brandon lives at the Lucky Dog Ranch and doesn't have much time to train all these dogs.
Right.
But it was still fascinating.
Wasn't it great?
It was very uplifting, and I was hooked. I was really, really hooked. Love the show.
Tell us about some of the benefits of dogs for those on the spectrum. What are some of the things they provide and do?
Oh my gosh, you're talking about tasks that they can perform?
Yeah, that they can perform and they can help kids on the spectrum with? Why?
Well, a lot of little kids with autism, they have wandering issues.
Right.
Elopement, they call it.
Right.
So you would train the dog to focus in on that child and bond closely with the child and have the child bond with the dog, you know. So I would teach the dog to alert the parents if the child like goes outside the door.
Right.
You
We
know.
would just talk about the dangers of drowning in autism, so that's one.
Yeah, you could teach the dog to alert them if they fall in the pool.
Right,
You know,
right.
so. And then another task is finding them.
Right.
Like if they get lost at a shopping mall or something, you would teach the dog through scent. You know, smelling the clothes, where to find the dog, where to find the child. So, and another thing, if they're very disorganized, you can teach the dog to retrieve certain items for school in the morning.
Really?
Yeah, you can teach them to get the backpack.
Wow.
And I've even seen videos where the dog stops the child from self-injurious behavior.
Yes, yes.
That the dog will stick a paw up. If the child is hitting themselves in the head, they stick a paw up and bark to alert people this is happening.
Yeah,
and
they recognize that.
It's amazing.
And also when the child is stimming, they can
Yes,
interfere
I've heard
with
about
that.
a little girl who clapped compulsively, and the dog would stick its nose in between her hands, keep her from clapping.
They're angels. They're amazing. You know, it's it usually takes about 6 months to a year to get
train
them
them.
properly trained. So, and then I'm always on call to the families for follow-up training because if they don't practice with the dog, the dog forgets.
Right.
You know.
Interesting. And so there's a very special family that you guys have been in cahoots to help this family. The two of you together, tell us about what this, with the Bacchus family.
Oh yeah, they have 2 small children, and Iris is pregnant again, and Dylan was diagnosed with autism. And when I first met him, he was very nonverbal, and but he's getting a lot of therapy. He's getting ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and Iris contacted me about 1.5 years ago and said that they got this golden retriever puppy. She sent me pictures, and of course it's so cute. But I don't start training the dog till they're 1 year old.
Okay.
So I said you have to get the dog into socialization classes and then obedience training to get the basic skills. So whenever she had questions about training, we conversed by email or phone. And so Blau turned 1 year old earlier this year.
Okay.
So I started the advanced skill training. And then I went in for hip surgery. So we've had a 4-month hiatus.
Right.
And so we just got back into training last week.
And the family applied for a grant through Act Today.
That's right.
And Act Today is giving you a check for the training, which is quite intensive. So for $2,500
Thank you,
from
guys.
Act Today, we have this to provide to
God
you.
bless you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This will help a lot. You
Well,
know,
and
so-
what a difference that this dog is going to make in this child's life. It's
Oh,
going to be
absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely, and also for the parents.
Oh,
It creates less worry
yes.
for the parents. You
And
know?
for the siblings too,
Yeah.
because the dog becomes a part of the family and a functional part of the family. So what a wonderful thing. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to bring some of the family in. I'm probably going to stay out, but I think we're bringing Blau in too.
Oh,
We love it
yeah.
when we have
Is he here?
a dog on the show. I think so.
think so.
So we're going to take a break and then hopefully come back because there'll be a dog. And you know what they say about dogs and children? You
Yeah.
can't upstage them. They
I know.
upstage you.
Okay.
So stick with us. We are here at the Los Angeles Zoo. We've got quite a group here. I've got my son, Jem, Mike from the A Word, and Jack Riley, star of the A Word, and Jessica. We've got a whole crew of people, and we're going to take a tour around the LA Zoo and see some exciting animals. Sound good, you guys?
What are the safety rules, though? Who do you have to stay next to? Daddy and Dieter.
So remember what we talked about? That every time you do something good, I'm going to write it on my hand. When you get 35 of these, what are you going to get?
3 hours of reading.
Yes, it's not a secret. You can tell people. What kinds of things do you need to do to get a mark on my hand?
Being kind. And good listening. Jem, can you show him where the chimpanzees are? Can you point it out to him?
Show Jack Riley. us what your responsibilities are here at the LA Zoo.
I am the manager of volunteer programs at the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association. I oversee the docents, the student volunteers, the general volunteers, and community service volunteers.
Give us an overview of what kinds of things people can see at the zoo.
There are lots of animals to see. We have a lot of endangered. We participate in a lot of conservation programs, and we offer a lot of education programs for our community, for school groups, for members, special needs.
What kinds of accommodations can you make when somebody has specific issues?
We have our special needs outreach program, and where we have a van that goes out into the community, and we bring a handful of animals to facilities that can't quite get to the zoo. So that could be a school, that could be a retirement community, that could be a hospital, and there are some courthouses that we visit as well. And we bring a couple animals and we talk about them, and it's kind of a fun experience. So that's our outreach program. And then on grounds, we also have tours, and we offer special needs tours for people catered to their needs. We have our petting zoo, so you can go and you can pet some goats.
We're here with from Autism-Live, and we were wondering if you could tell us what it's like to be a goat in the zoo. Really?
And we have our condor rescue zone, so you can go in and pretend you are a condor, or you could be a biologist, or you could be a vet. And it's kind of fun.
Thank you for all the work that you do here and for making it accessible for all of our kids. Here with Janet Jackson. Janet, tell us what your role at the zoo is.
My role is a docent, and we're volunteers.
How did you learn all the things that you know?
Well, that's the great thing about the Los Angeles Zoo. We have a special docent program. It's one of the most stringent ones in the country. Actually, it's UCLA accredited class.
Well, it added so much to our visit to the zoo today. So I thank you for all your knowledge and all your giving to the community.
Well, thank you, because I had a special needs child too, and I think it's so important that they interact with animals, and that helped my son when he was going through so much trauma, that we saw that he was able to grow and to expand a little bit, and it just helped us as parents because we had a tool to use, and we saw the love and the care that he was able to bring out just by touching animals and being around animals, because there is no judgment there.
Amen to that. Well, thank you for paying it forward, because you are. I definitely saw you doing that today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
What was hard for you guys today at the zoo, do you feel?
To be completely honest, I was about to say this is the easiest, best outing I can recall. My concerns are I think we're sort of past elopement, but it's always on my mind when it's just with the two of us out in a, you can get 20 feet away if it's busy and be lost, be misplaced. But nothing like that happened today. There were a lot of people helping me, of course.
It was interesting for me because Jem hasn't been here since he was 3, like right after we started therapy. And I remember that was hellish, the day that we were here. Sometimes I don't notice the progress until we're out someplace like this. Do you feel like that's true too?
Yes, today I was actually comfortable with him being 15, 20 feet away. And even if he wasn't holding anybody's hand or anything, I was comfortable. And that's a new feeling.
I watched that and I said, man, there's no way we could have done that at that age. So he's doing really well. And I was so engaged by how Jack Riley is so aware of the circumstances around him. He's really doing great.
Yeah, thank you. He's curious. He's and he's just learned a lot. I mean, I can't give enough credit to Miss Jessica. No disrespect to any of our other therapists, and she's been with him for the whole time. So that's a constant in his life, and I dread the day when she's not.
It's always amazing. We had our rock star on our team. There's always one therapist that just becomes a part of your family forever. What would you say to parents who are afraid to do it even with an aide?
I understand your fear, because I've always had it. But sometimes they surprise you. I know it's called a spectrum for a reason, and my son is not like any other son or daughter, and so I can't advise you on what may or may not happen. We were always worried about transitions. They're getting better because we do it, and explain what is expected before you get here. That was a hard lesson for me to learn. But every time I don't explain to him the expectations, I have more problems. I have more transitional issues. But when he knows what transitions he's going to face that day, he handles it. So my advice would be talk it out, but come do it and come again, even if it's a horrible experience, because it might be. You got to do it the first time before you can do it the second time. So.
I think in general, I mean, you know, I explained the expectations here and we carried it out in my hand. I agree with you. It's super duper important. I think it's good for us too, because then we know what we're expecting too.
And they've engaged each other a little bit, which I was very happy to see.
Thank you so much for coming and doing this play date with us. We had a really great time.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it, and it's just a great experience. I can't wait to tell my wife how well he did. So.
And let's do it again sometime.
Okay, anytime. Okay.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, you know, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple of group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch, because they were all focused, they were all present, and they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
Is the Act Today, One Hope Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival, and it's to benefit military families challenged by autism. So we're out here for a great day. Not only is there a 10K run, a 5K run, and a 1 mile fun run, there's a kids run and there's an Easter egg hunt. Military families are particularly hard hit because they have very special circumstances.
I have 3 kids in my family. You know, my nephew has 3 children that are all on the spectrum. And for me, it originally became about understanding and learning about autism. And then it became about, what can I do to help? It takes $3 million to raise a child through their lifetime with autism. That's a great reason to get involved.
On your mark, get set.
I think people forget the people element involved with autism. You know, the families that are suffering, the children that are suffering.
Society could be robbed of so much untapped potential, talent, and skills if we're not helping the children of these military families as much as any other children out there. Not just those suffering with autism, but those struggling.
People should get together and tell their friends and family to donate to Act Today. It's a really important cause, one that's close to our heart and the San Diego community as a whole, and an incredible opportunity to support the military. So get out there and donate.
Okay, we are back with the whole family, including Blau, the dog, and we're back with Dad Mirko.
That's right.
Right. We've got Dylan here. We've got Mom Iris.
Hi.
And the whole family is here with their wonderful new assistance dog. And Debbie's sitting here giving the dog a little bit of training as we speak, so you can see some of this in action. So tell us how it feels to have the dog now.
Oh, it feels great. He brings a lot of joy to our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how long have you had the dog now?
We've had him for almost
like a year,
more than a year.
Yeah, a little more than a year.
A little more than a year, and you've been doing some basic training with the dog.
Yeah, and we already started with Debbie already sometime.
Debbie's already started, but
surgery.
now...
Well,
because-
by phone and email.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, because of a grant through Act Today, we're going to be giving you full training for the dog. So the dog is going to be able to work with Dylan. And tell us about some of the changes you've seen in Dylan since you've had the dog.
Well, he lately actually he's been feeding him at nighttime, and he gets excited telling him like sit before he eats and stay, and then he tells him to go. He doesn't really obey him, but he looks at me to see when I say the word. But I think it's good practice getting him closer to the
So
dog.
Dylan's becoming more verbal.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
I would also say that the dog Blau is his name takes him out of his own world because
Right.
Dylan has difficulties to relate to other kids.
Right.
And now there has been a lot more interaction with the dog. So between Dylan and the dog, there has been a lot more interaction. And he's been playing with the dog and been throwing the ball, and I would say that he also calms him down.
Right.
So it's been of great benefit actually to him so far.
Debbie, tell us about some of the things you're going to be working with the dog on now.
Well, public access primarily, so we can pass the public access test. You know, all dogs that become certified service dogs have to be able to have good behavior in public.
Okay.
So we're working on Go Potty before you go in a building, and also to go on command.
Okay.
We're working on when we come to a curb at the street, we stop and we sit, and we're just doing the basic elements right now, and also when you go to a restaurant, how he's supposed to act there. And he's very hyper right now because he's excited to be on TV.
Right, and he's excited to see you. He hasn't seen you in a long time. Right.
So he's got to learn how to go under a table and
Okay.
stay there for an hour or an hour and a half. A lot of dogs can't stay that long, but the first time that we did it with Blau, he was there and stayed and was very patient.
Yes. Look at
And
Blau.
then
He's so cute.
then he started pawing me, and I thought, well, maybe he has to go to the bathroom.
Right.
So took him outside, and he did go to the bathroom. So he knows not to go inside a restaurant. So
Right.
he's just very smart.
Okay. He looks like a very smart dog, and he's a very beautiful dog.
I think the back houses won the lottery when they got this dog.
Right,
You
right.
know.
So are there things that specifically he's going to be doing to bring out more vocal, more
Oh yeah,
language?
Dylan's my assistant dog trainer.
Okay.
So he's teaching the dog to sit, stay, go down.
Okay. So he'll be learning language.
He'll be learning language. And his ABA therapist is working on language too, right?
Okay. So you're looking at yourself on TV, aren't you there? You see yourself? Yeah? See yourself on the TV screen? So Debbie, this is quite a process. This is a long process of training these dogs. How long does the training usually take?
Well, I'll be available to them till the dog passes away.
Okay. But from beginning to end, it can take, what, a couple of years?
The training itself, 6 months. The
6 months.
6 months to a year.
Okay.
For him to get down to all the advanced training. We're also going to work on blouse sleeping with Dylan.
Okay.
And also alerting the parents if he goes outside the front door.
Dylan's trying to make an escape now.
Down.
I think we're going to let him down and let him walk around a little bit. There you go, Dylan. It's okay.
Stay.
So, okay, we're gonna take a break now that we've seen the dog, we've seen Dylan. Shannon's right there. You want to go outside? Oh, he wants to see himself on TV.
Such a handsome
yourself?
dude.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Go right up to that camera there. There you go.
Yay.
Yeah, that's making you.
You know what
smile.
I find is that kids really like to talk into microphones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Between Blau and Dylan.
Oh, look. There you go. You see? Isn't that magic? Yeah. Oh, look at him. He's loving the camera. Well, Debbie, this is we're so excited for the family and so honored to have you training this dog for them.
Thank you. And thank you for the grant. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So
You're
much
welcome.
for
We
that.
can't think of a more deserving family for this grant. And the dog is absolutely fantastic. Blau is just a beautiful specimen of a dog, and I know he's going to do great in his training.
Yeah, he will.
Okay.
He's teaching me things, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure we learn from them, don't we?
Yeah, we do, definitely.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all, and we're so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Congratulations.
Thank you so
everything.
much.
Thank you for
Okay.
the grant.
All right, all right. We'll be back with more in just a little while.
Okay. Good job, Blau.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, you know, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with ACT Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
Well, that was quite an adventure.
I just have so much respect for you because you just sat there cool as a cucumber through the whole thing. But that's life, right?
Yeah.
That's what life with kids on the spectrum and dogs and
right.
and you know that's what it is in an enclosed space. And you just were like, Nancy was Nancy. She's like, okay, he wants to get down, and Dylan went and talked to the camera. What a cutie patootie he is.
I know. We're so
And
happy this family was able to get a grant through him
yes,
today.
what a wonderful thing.
Clearly, it's going to make a huge difference
Absolutely.
in the life of Dylan.
And you know what I think? In a year, we need to invite everybody back and
Yeah,
see how
they're
everybody's doing then,
yeah.
and so we can see how Blau will learn to sit on the table and sit, pretty, and because he, the tail wagging was like, it was hilarious. You guys
My
know what I'm
hat's
talking
off
about.
to Debbie Tippett-Clark for the work she
Yes.
does.
Well, my hat's off to you for not losing it during all of that and just being as calm and cool as a cucumber. We're totally out of time, but I wanted to come back for a second to talk about tomorrow's show
Yeah,
because
tell
it's
us
a
who you've got.
big one. So Emily Island is going to be with us to talk a little bit more about Be Safe, the movie, in light of everything that's been happening. It's so important. So she's going to talk a little bit about that and how you can get access to it. But then we have a special, and we have Bonnie Yates on tomorrow too. I don't want to minimize that either. She's going to be talking about restraints at school and how we can make sure that our kids aren't being mistreated at school legally. We can make sure. But then the big thing is that we're doing a full hour tomorrow with Rabia Rashid, who is the writer, creator and producer of Atypical, that hit series on Netflix that just got upped for a second season.
That's great.
So she's here with us talking about how this idea came to be and what might be happening in season 2.
Very
And our wonderful friend Matt Asner is joining with me for that interview. And it's a good time. So a full hour that we're going to do with Rabia. So you won't want to miss that.
I've lost Samantha, so I can't.
Well,
I don't
I'm
know how
sure
much
we're
time
way
we have.
past time by now.
Probably.
So we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
Bye bye for now.